Okay. So today we will cover this two project. Let's see the how what time is permit. So first is which is the important one, like database RDS cluster with the secured VPC, you can say, where we can design the cluster. Last time we see the database, but it was in the completely public subnet where we can able to log into the our from our local system. But now today we will not see like this. We can see anyone work on the Bastion server or aware about the Bastion server, how it works, jump server like that. No?
Jump server means whatever for the console RDPs are taking, that is the servers you are typing,
Yeah,
saying
it's
like
a
that.
middleware server. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be
Let
working
me
on that same.
let me show you the diagrams we can understand. Because as we discussed earlier, so in the organization or real time, we can say we cannot keep our database publicly available. So that is the reason some company may have a direct connect access where they get the between connectivity between AWS data center to office premises privately. So that's they might don't require that Bastion server or any VPN. So they have a direct private connectivity, or some the company who doesn't use that kind of feature or direct connect service. So in that case, the company use Bastion server, or sometimes we call it as the jump server. So jump server is hosted on the public subnet, which he expose the traffic to the internet. And we as a user or cloud engineer or DevOps engineer, we can or database developer something. So we can connect to first that public subnet, public hosted subnet server, which is Bastion server. Okay, with the public IP address, but this server will be available should accessible within a VPN only of your office VPN. It should not open for the public interface publicly. Then from there you can try to connect to your database server, which is hosted inside the private subnet. Either it can be EC2 instance or your database server. So today we will see these. We can create one Bastion server. Then as a user, we can try to connect from here to your privately created database, because private database we cannot access from our local system directly. So we can see how the network connectivity will configure between these two applications host. We cannot use any public subnet here, public IP address to open this traffic between application server, your Bastion server to database servers. Okay, we will see that. So this is diagram I will share with you on the group later. How this is basically how Bastion server works with the database server. So I prepared some problem statement based on the last one assignment, which
Yeah, Namdev, jump server and Bastion server are different.
no, it's the same. Like sometimes we call it as a jump or Bastion something. It's a middleware between your user and your private subnet to connect, because the private subnet resources we cannot directly access. So in that case, we can access to first Bastion server, and from there we can connect to our private resources inside the infrastructure. So problem statement is like we need to create one secure and scalable RDS instance with the MySQL with the latest stable version. For
Sir,
these
I
use
have a
cases,
question.
yeah,
So, this Bastion host, is it anyway similar to this Apache or IIS, because that also works as a middleware, right? So, is
in
it
this
similar to?
case, we don't require to install any additional packages like IIS or Apache. It's a simple as it's a EC2 instance.
Oh, it's a okay,
So
okay.
we cannot access directly to the private
Yeah,
database.
yeah.
First, we have to connect to that Bastion server, which is a
Mm,
normal EC2 instance. From there, we can connect to your private resources, your EC2 instance or your RDS.
okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
some company use this strategy. if they don't have any direct connect service. Okay, because
Okay.
a direct connect service is chargeable, so only bigger organization can afford it, or any middleware. It's depend how they
Mm.
manage the budgets and security
Uh,
standards.
s- Namdev, do you mean to
Yeah.
say like that? Key, whatever the Bastion servers are there, whatever
Mm-hmm.
the jump servers are there, the jump
Hmm.
servers it directly accessing on the publicly, and
Hmm.
how the connectivity is there. Just like a VPN, from VPN we need to connect with the jump servers like that, or what?
Yeah, let me draw here simple diagram.
Hmm.
Let's say we are the user here. It can be developer or your data center engineer or your DevOps engineer, for example. And we have our own system, right? So here we have a AWS infrastructure, for example. So inside that we can create public subnet resources and private subnet. In private we have a database server, okay? And in public subnet we have a EC2 instance, for example. So as we said, private database we cannot access directly from our user machine, okay? Because it sits within a VPC privately, okay? So we cannot directly access. So what we can do is we can use first from our system, we can connect to this publicly hosted EC2 instance, which we can call that as a Bastion server, okay? And from here we can access to this privately created database. Now coming to this network settings. So we can take private IP address of this EC2 instance and open the traffic as an inbound rule here, as a inbound rule. You can say your database server, let's say MySQL, so 3306. So in this, let's say today we will cover this. So it's EC2 instance, we will create Windows based OS. Okay. And from here we can install the MySQL workbench, which we tried last time, MySQL workbench. And from here we can try to connect this database. Okay. So in database security group, we will open inbound rule for the this Bastion server IP address, private IP address, not the public one, because we want to authenticate within a private network connectivity. Even you can use public IP address, but for better things, we can use the private IP address. So we will see in this session. I hope it's clear now,
So,
or any
Namdev,
confusion.
on that, the thing is that these points I have clear, but
Mm-hmm.
if, for example, the user to the private subnet uh, jump host, how they are connected, just like whatever the private IP address connected with the DB servers, and one of the public IP address are given, and the public IP address are accessing from our side, just like that.
Mm. Yes. For this public IP address, you can use
But
for this
this
connectivity.
the public IP address, if you are if we are accessing the public IP address, it will be the getting a chargeable basis. On that basis, we are getting a bill, huge amount of bill.
Mm. Mm. So earlier it's a free for the IP address, but now they made it as a chargeable.
Yes,
Even
yes.
doesn't matter if you are using or not using.
So
So
how we
earlier
can do
is
the
hmm,
establish the connections from this jump host to the normal users? That is my question.
okay. So in that case, so let's say you have a VPN in your office. You are sitting in your office premises, right? So normally every office or organization will provide the VPN address, right? So without VPN, you cannot access any on-premise your office premise applications or something.
Yes,
So first we have to connect to your VPN, office VPN, VPN. Then by default you will get some IP address there. It's not a changing one; it's a fixed one IP address. You can say static IP address. This IP address you can open in this security group EC2 instance inbound rule. Like this is a Windows server, so you are connecting
understand.
through the RDP. So you can open that 3389 port. If it's a Linux server, then you can open the SSH port number 22. So we will see this practically, so you will get more idea. Anyone any confusion now? This kind of work you might get in the any work culture. It's a Bastion kind of or database, how you can connect privately. If no confusion, then we can start. So it's the same explanation that's in the diagram where it is. So same thing, like as a user, we are sitting in the office premises. We first connect, we need to connect our VPN. Okay, from VPN, then we will access this EC2 instance. Once this instance is accessible, from that within that EC2 instance, we can try to connect to this data privately database. Okay, private database. Now to allow connectivity between this office premises to this EC2 Bastion server, so we can open inbound rule in this security group for the VPN IP address. Okay. So in our case, we don't have a VPN. So what we can do is I can show you that my internet IP address I will use as a VPN address, and I will open in the inbound rule for the Bastion server security group. Okay. So we can start with that. Any confusion, anyone before this?
Please repeat again, just what?
So basically, in premises or real-time industry, we cannot host our database to public subnet. Okay, because we cannot expose to, because of the security compliance or something, we cannot
Correct.
expose our database to public one. So that's the reason we will host in the within the private subnet here. Okay, so now let's say you are the database developer or any database or DevOps engineer. You want to access this database and want to perform any queries like we did last time, like create database, create a table, something like that. So how you can access this database, okay, which is sits in the private subnets. You cannot access directly to that database, right? So in that case, we will create one middle layer like a Bastion server. So that Bastion server should be host on the public subnet, because you as a user, you want to access that server to from your network, like your office premises. So that is the reason we need to create it privately. Okay. And in that case, then you need to open the VPN IP address range in this security group for the Bastion server inbound rule. And from there, you can connect to this database server. So between this Bastion host and database, that traffic should be open within a by using private IP address, as I shown here the diagram. Here I show the public IP address which we require to connect the server, and from there we can connect to your database. Is that clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can try to understand the problem statement quickly, just as a task. So we need to create the secured and scalable RDS instance with the latest stable version. Then database engine, we can choose from the MySQL, Postgres, and Amazon Aurora. Okay, so today we will try to use as a session MySQL Aurora. Okay, even you can use for the normal MySQL as well, so no issues. It's depend on you how you which database you are comfortable to create the tables or something, or in your project, let's say if sometimes client decided or your tech architect based on the discussion. Then multi-AG should be there, like as we said, we need to implement a multi availability zones. So if something goes wrong with the master server, so at least we should have a fault tolerance there. Okay, so we cannot take any risk for any critical applications or services. Security, so that's a security point of view. We ensure that the database is secured with the best practice, and that should be hosted in the private subnet basically for the better compliance. Then backup and restore, set the automated backup and restore process to prevent data loss. Okay, if something goes wrong with your database, or what will happen sometimes, you might aware, like sometimes a human mistake can be there, like any wrong query you have executed, you deleted the records, tables or something. So to avoid this kind of situation, we should have a backup. So at least what will happen if something instance occurred in the real-time cases, so at least we can restore the data or that particular records or tables from the last backup, which should happen in the last night. Okay. So your backup window should be always where the database activity is lower, like in the middle night or something, or early morning, like 4 a.m. something. Okay, because that period is very use case will be very low. You can use any monitoring tool like CloudWatch or whatever the Grafana something you are using. So you can just check the traffic utilization. Based on that, you can just ensure that that backup window. Mostly people schedule the midnight, so it's a good window basically. Then monitoring and logging. So we need to make sure that we should have a proper monitoring in the place, and log should be there, like a general log, audit log, something. Okay, so we will see that. Then parameter group, as we have seen last time on the EC2 based installation for the MySQL database. So that's a configuration file, right? We have opened the bind address and some connectivity there, right? If you remember, slash etc mysql.com something, right? My dot mysql.cna basically configuration file. So in this RDS case, it's a managed service, so we don't get any root access here. Okay, that's you can say the limitation, but AWS has a separate concept like parameter group, where you can fine tune your database or you can add any query time period or something like that. So here we use parameter group. So I will show you that. And one more thing I forgot, I guess, subnet group. Create separate subnet group where private subnet should there. Okay. So last time we created with the public subnet group, but this time we will create completely based on the private subnet. Okay. And we will try to access that database from the Bastion server. And your automated maintenance, which any minor version patches there or something, so that should happen automatically. So as this is a managed service, so we don't need to take care about that, and we don't need to worry about that. So that RDS AWS will take care automatically, but for that we need to set up the maintenance window. Okay, so we will see going forward how we can set up that maintenance window. So any minor version comes or any security patches, it will automatically update or happen based on the maintenance activity or window we have scheduled. And then the tech stack we required RDS MySQL here. Then your secret manager, why we need to use secret manager here, as I explained earlier last session, so we can store our database credential in the secured manner. So that is the reason we will use here. We will require the VPC. Okay, then your to access the database securely, we will use Bastion server here. And then CloudWatch metrics, like how we can enable the monitoring for the database, then which things we need to take care about the monitoring setup as a metric setup, like replication lagging, your CPU memory utilization, like that. Okay, so that we will cover. Architecture diagram I have already shown. I will share in that shared folder as well as the WhatsApp group. Okay, so you will refer that. So step to perform. So what, how we can go further now? So we will create secured VPC. We will have a public subnet, two private subnet here. Okay, then we will create first RDS MySQL parameter group, which we discuss for any modification of the database configuration file. Then we will create separate subnet group in the RDS section. Okay, I will show you that practically with only private subnet. Okay, then we will start with the actual implementation of the database cluster with the MySQL and multi-AZ enabled. Then we will store the credentials in the secret manager, and we will then to test that we will create a Bastion server on the public subnet. Okay, and then I can add here install MySQL workbench and configure credentials. Okay, then make sure necessary network settings are applied, like inbound rules which we discussed. We should open the Bastion server private IP address in the database security group. Okay, then we can test the connectivity between Bastion to RDS. So we can start with this now practically. Anyone, any questions? No? Okay. So first, as I always told, like first you have to choose the proper region here. So don't go with any random region. Otherwise, you will end up with the unexpected bill or something if you don't know where you have created the resource. Okay. So better to first go with this proper region, whichever you always do the practicals. Okay. And then search the service RDS. So before that, we can go and create the VPC. We can go with step by step. Like first, we will set up the VPC with the two public and two private separate. So here in the VPC section, we can simply go to your VPC, which the already default one. I can create with this CIDR range, create VPC, and here we will go with this easy way. You can give the name like demo VPC and give this range and how much public subnet, private subnet we require. You can just pass it here. Endpoint we don't require now and just create it. It's a very easy process nowadays. Earlier, it's so you can see, and it will within a few clicks, it will happen quickly. So our VPC is ready. But first, just always remember one more settings we required. If you remember, let me rename it properly. Let me copy this VPC ID, okay, and go to your subnet, search with this, refresh it, and for the public subnet, okay, public 1 and 2, just enable that IP address, public IP action setting, and just enable the IP address, okay, and that's it. Same for the another second public subnet. Okay. Now second next step, we are done with this VPC setup. Then we will go and create the RDS MySQL parameter group. So for that, we need to go to the RDS service. You can see here parameter groups and subnet group. Okay. So in the parameter group, I will delete the existing one, which I created for the practical. Delete. I will go ahead and create new one. You can give the name like demo db param group. Okay. And engine type, which we will use Aurora MySQL here. And we are going to create the 8.0, okay, here MySQL 8.0, which is the latest one, and just create it. Acha, description, demo, database, param group. Okay. So parameter group you can give any when like you identified better. So I'm just giving like this now. Demo db param for cluster. Description can be, we can give same one. Engine type, my Aurora MySQL and group family 8.0. Here select the cluster parameter group and create it. Okay. So now coming to this subnet group. Anyone any idea why we need to create the separate subnet group? Why we cannot go the default one? I explained last time, but let's see who has better memory. Why we need to create the separate subnet group? If you don't create separate subnet group, we will get whatever the subnets available in that VPC during the setup of MySQL database. So that's not a good practice. So for that, as we have, our motto is like we should create the database service within a only private subnet. So that is the reason we need to create the separate subnet group where private subnet should be there only, not the mix like public and private. Okay, that is the reason basically. So we let's go and create it. Create DB subnet group and give the name demo subnet DB description VPC which we have created demo VPC. Okay, and now here don't select I mean the everything, here the subnet one. Okay, so we are not sure which one we should use here. So let's go to the separate window and open your VPC. Now in this, from this list, we are not sure which one is the public and which one is the private. Okay, from this name. So what we can do is we can go back to our VPC and just click on this, copy the VPC ID, go to subnet. Okay, we already fetched it, and just check the number, like let me filter it out. Private one, okay, only private one, 0365CA. Okay, 036 this one and 5CA this one. Okay, this is the private subnet. So select only private one and just create it. Okay, so we have this demo subnet DB now. So what's next? What is the next step? We have created this VPC parameter group and subnet group. Now let's implement this RDS cluster. So next step is like go to your dashboard. So in the here you will see the how many instances you are using already. So it's there is no. So we can just simply create it. Create database. Select the engine type like as we have decided Aurora MySQL. Okay. So you can go ahead and just read more about this normal MySQL Postgres or your Aurora base. Aurora is designed by the AWS itself, and it's almost 5 times better than normal MySQL and Postgres. Okay, so and it's more optimistic in terms of the heavy workload handles and other stuffs. Also, you don't need to worry about the disk space management in the Aurora scale. It will automatically scaling, like if your data increase, it will automatically scale. If your data decrease, like you record delete the unnecessary records from the database or something, it will automatically scale down. So that's a major benefit from there. So that is the reason some organization use Aurora as a database. It gives more optimistic optimization way and other feature. And let's keep the engine version latest, which is the 8.0. Okay, now coming to this identifier, let's add the name like demo DB. You can give name like MySQL. Username, whatever you want to give. Okay, but now I can keep it as admin. Secret manager, which we will discuss, we discussed last time. So either you can go with the self-hosted, I mean you can generate your own password, or you can just go with the secret manager, which is the recommended by the AWS as well for to say store the secret manner. Okay, and the secret manager service. So if you open the secret manager service here, just open in the new tab and see. As of now, there is no secrets, okay? Because we last time we deleted the instance, so it got deleted. So let's go ahead and create that. It will automatically manage the encryption. Now instance class. So in the real-time use cases based on the workload type, you can just choose, okay, memory optimize or something. But now as we are doing this practical, so we can go with this minimum version. So we can get the minimum cost. So here availability and durability, like failure mechanism. So if you don't want any failure, like for your dev environment or test environment, so as a best practice, when you are designing the architecture, So for a day one test environment, you should have only single instance. You don't need to maintain the high availability there for the day one test environment. But for the production one, you should always go with this multi-AZ. So if something goes wrong with that environment and in the production, so at least you should have something there to roll back. Okay. So for day one test, you can definitely go with this without multi-AZ. Okay. So for now, as we have seen the problem statement, we can go with this multi-AZ. Okay. Now coming to this VPC part here. So we can select which we created like demo VPC, and coming down, it will automatically detect the subnet group which we have created earlier. Okay, which has a two subnet only you can see here. So only we added the two private subnet. That's why it's showing the two subnets here. So here don't go with this public access. Yes. Okay. Just click on the no one. Okay. So no, it will not accessible from the public network. Even you make it by mistakenly public access, yes, still you cannot access your database because that database plays on the private subnet. Okay. And we know private subnet doesn't have any internet connectivity, so he cannot expose the database traffic to the outer world. But still, as a best practice, you can go with this public access no here. Okay. And the firewall rule, either you can go with this existing one, which if you have any one you already created, or you can just create a new one here. Okay. Just click on this new one and just give the name like demo DB security group. See, this is the certificate authority which it will work within a connection bit for the database connection. Now by default, we will see this latest one, RDS CA, which will expire on the 2061. Okay, but earlier one, if you already created the RDS instance, so you will see this certificate, which will expire next month, August 22. Okay, so the person who are using this RDS cluster, everyone is getting that notification that we should update that certificate. Okay, which I initially explain you the steps. It's very pretty simple. So by default, we will go with this latest one. Or let's say, for example, if I can show you the like that practical as well. So let's see. So I'm just going with the older one now, so I can show you that as well practically. All right. So now if you can click on this additional configuration, you will see the port number and you will see other mechanism. So monitoring, you can enable the monitoring. Not this one. This one you will get the more cost. Initial database name you can mention like demo database here. So it will automatically create when the RDS system is up. Database cluster parameter group, we can select the which we have created, customize. Okay. So why we should not use default parameter group, because the default, let's say tomorrow we want to optimize our database in the real time. So if your database developer asks you like, can you increase the memory for this database or any connection timeout? So as a by default limitation, we cannot increase the limitation in the default parameter group. Okay. So that is the reason we need to create separate one and we need to choose that. Okay. So we can at least modify that one and switch, select the customized one which we have created.
Can you repeat your words again for the this?
Okay.
Yes.
So for the parameter group, so we explain, right? So seen that like if you want to optimize your memory for the database or query timeout period or connection timeout period, so that's not possible with the default parameter group. If you go with this, it will not allow you to modify that default parameter group. So that's the reason we need to go ahead and select the customized one which we created before this instance. So that customized parameter group we can edit anytime, like your connection timeout or query timeout period, if you want to increase the seconds. But default one, it is not allowed to modify any
Means
value.
whatever the queries are coming, if it will be taking the time. So
Hmm.
for the this parameters groups is getting created the times.
Let's say sometime you might face the issue like query getting timeout or any getting response query taking too much time. So in that period, you can optimize the query optimized period. So developer will be suggest you the which parameter we need to modify, and query timeout connection seconds. Okay, that we cannot modify in the default one.
But this is a headache with the DB team, na? Why we are worrying about this?
No, let's say if you go this when we need to design this database architecture, definitely he might sometimes suggest or not. That's it's up to. But let's say tomorrow, if you want to modify that, so we will get more hectic work. Like we need to create the separate parameter group, then modify your instance. It will require some sort of a maintenance window there to modify that cluster. So better that go ahead with the customized parameter group. It's not a major blocker, but it will allow us to modify any values related to data optimization in future.
Okay. But
Yeah.
example for example, we have defined these things on normal basis, default basis. We have implement that.
Hmm.
After sometimes the engineer is like that, boss, I need to change this parameters. So can we change these parameters
Yeah. For
whenever
that,
the
you need,
systems are available in the production also?
yeah, for that you need to create the separate parameter group as we seen in the steps now, and you need to
Hmm.
modify this instance.
Okay.
Yeah. So
From
it
there
will
we
take
can do.
yeah, you can do. But VPC you cannot change. That's a major one.
VPC can't be changed.
Yeah, you can't change VPC. Only parameter group, which is fine.
Understand.
Then backup period. So for RDS instance, we cannot disable the backup. Aurora base. So at least we should keep minimum 1 days and maximum is 35 days. It's supported. So based on your discussion or how much backup you required, let's say last 5 days or 7 days, whatever decided, you can just choose the number accordingly. Because keeping unnecessary larger period of the time period, log retention or backup retention period, so it's ultimately gives the additional cost because it's a storage cost, right? Incremental changes. So better to go with the whatever they decided like minimum number, like 1 week or something that you can select the number here. So for this demo, I can just go with this minimum one, which I cannot disable like 0. But for the normal MySQL, you can disable that backup as well, like 0 period. So in this Aurora case, you cannot disable the backups. Encryption, you can see that automatically. Then the log export, which we have the problem statement, right? This one, monitoring and logging. So if you require audit log, your error log, general log, so you can just enable that button and you can just create the database. If in case if you forget to create this or enable these logs, even you can later period, you can also modify this log group. So it will automatically taken care. Slow query you can enable only, let's say if your database getting major issue, bottlenecks, or some query might taking time, but you are not sure which query taking more time. So in that case, slow query log will help you. So it will track each and every query, and he will track also the time period, like how much times it taking. So in that case, you can enable the slow log query to resolve the issue for related to queries or database performance issue in that case. Otherwise, you can just skip that because it generate some little bit load on the database because his task is checking the every uh, query. Only the troubleshooting period of the time, if you are getting major issues in the database, only in that case you can better to use that in that period to troubleshoot the query level. In normal case, you can just enable these, okay, and just go with the default one. Later, next step, like a maintenance window. So based on as we discussed, to update the auto minor version upgrades, okay. So we don't need to worry about the like in the normal traditional EC2 instance, we need to perform the command like yum update or something or any patching activity tools there. But in this case, if you select this auto minor version and choose the maintenance window, let's say Saturday or Sunday only when the off period, in that case, you can just schedule this maintenance window. So any changes or any recommendation comes from the AWS, any minor version patches. So it will automatically taken care by that during that maintenance window. We don't need to worry about the major downtime. So I can skip for now, or let me enable for you. And deletion protection, which also similar to our EC2 instance termination protection. If you don't, like say someone, any human mistakes happen or something, so that database can be accidentally deleted, right? So in that case, to avoid that situation, you can enable this option, enable deletion protection. So for now, I can skip it. And you additionally last, you will see this cost, monthly cost approximately. Okay. And then you can just simply create it. Okay. Database name is okay. Demo DB. I can go with this, create it. So it will take a couple of minutes and you can see the message here. For certificate, you can see you have one more Aurora Cloud database that use RDS certificate authorities that expired or reaching end of life. After expiry, you can Aurora can no longer accept new connections with this certificate. Okay, which I discussed earlier during the setup of this cluster. Okay, so what you can do is in this case, we need to wait obviously till this instance got created, but you will see from the left side, bottom side, certificate updates. So we have this certificate updates. So we can simply click on this and we can just click on apply now. But let's wait for the this instance created. If you have created earlier this RDS cluster, you definitely might seen this warning alert there. So you have to update the certificate. So we can simply just update once this database got created successfully. So it might take a couple of minutes here. Let's go to the security manager and just check security manager service. Just refresh this page and you can see the secret name got created, and just open it and you will see the credentials here. See, it's automatically created in the secret manager. And if you want to see, you will see the sample here as well. Like if you want to access the database from the Lambda function or somewhere, you can see the different programming language and their sample code: Java, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, Go, like this. Our next step would be like create a Bastion server in public subnet. Okay, and we can install the workbench there. So let's go to the EC2 service now. So let's go to the running instance. We can launch new instance as simple as, and give the name like Bastion host Windows. Okay. And here choose Windows OS with the latest version, and then go to the instance type T2 inst micro, which is fine. And then next key pair. So let me check which key pair I have, because it's required PEM file. Okay, I have this one, or I can go with the separate one. Give the name like Bastion host. Okay. And go with this PEM file, because Windows, if you for the Linux, we have seen that we will log in through the PPK file or PEM file, but here we need to retrieve the credentials of the Windows administrator password. So that's the required PEM file. PPK will not work as we have seen the last time practically. So make sure always you should have select the PEM file here and create it. Now in the network setting, you can go ahead and just select the proper VPC, which is the demo VPC. Okay. And you can see auto assign IP address disable, but you can just enable it here. Either you can select the existing security group or create a new one. So let's go ahead and create a new security group, which is the firewall. Firewall rules, you can say demo passion host security group. Okay. And by default for now, I can open the RDP port. Okay. So later we will open the remaining port. Or let me just remove this group security group rule now. I will show you later one and just create it. Okay, it will create in couple of minutes. So meantime, let's see. As we are doing for our local machine, so we don't have any VPN IP address now, right? So what you can do is open this Bastion server security group, and that security group open in the new tab. Okay, and check the inbound rule. As of now, we don't have any rules. Okay, it's completely blank firewall group. So we can open the RDP port because this is a Windows one. RDP protocol, it will automatically come here 3389. In the IP address as a source, let's say you have a in office premises, you have a VPN IP address. So you can use here VPN IP address separately. Okay. But in my cases, I don't have any VPN IP address. So what I can do is either I can use this format here, my IP address, it will automatically get the my internet IP address 103.160. If I check here, you can see 103.160. Or the next website is like what is my IP something, and you will get this IP address detail, your internet IP address. Okay. So we can use that my IP address, and you can give the description like my IP something and just save it. So now okay, it's in running state now. So we will get here public IP address. We can use that. Go to your local machine and just do the MSTSC or add. If you search even the RDS, you will see that remote desktop connection RDP, and just paste here that IP address. But before that, we required IP password, right? So let's go and just get it retrieve. From select that Bastion host server from the action instance setting, and you will see the options here. I think security. Okay. In the inside the action security, and there get Windows password. Just click on that, and you can see here. Just upload the private key which we have downloaded. Okay. Bastion host. Just paste it and just decrypt the password. So we will see this by default Windows administrator password. We can just simply copy it and come to this section RDP remote desktop connection. Just open it. He will ask the username and password here. If everything is fine with your network connectivity and security inbound rules which you configured, then he will show that pop-up window. Let me check one more time. What is happening? I'm just opening the new tab for the EC2 instance. Okay. This is the Bastion host. Let me open the security group one more time. Open the security group, inbound rule. Sometimes Windows might not, it will take some time to come up. Okay, it's taking too much time. So what I can do is, instead of custom, I can go with this anywhere IP address for now, just to test, and let's see. Okay, and let me try now. Okay, can anyone guess what could be the reason and where we did the mistake?
Take the hardware console first and check from there. The OS is loading properly or not. Because yesterday's issue is there going on for
Hmm.
the Windows.
Hmm. But here we have made one mistake. When we set up this Bastion host, instead of creating on the public subnet, it's by default selected the private subnet. So what we can do is, quickly, we can just remove this instance, and because a Bastion server should be on the public subnet, right? To connect it from our local machine. So, but somehow it's selected by default the private subnet.
So
So
we can't change that things.
no, 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 we cannot change. That is the reason. But during the setup, we need to be careful here. If that got created, then we need to recreate that instance with the proper subnet and the VPC. Here, Windows machine.
You are saying like that कि जो भी अपन ने सिलेक्ट किया हुआ है वही सेम रहेगा परमानेंटली फॉर द
Yeah,
VPC.
VPC you cannot change. Yes. Option is only you can just recreate that resource like EC2 or RDS. So this time we cannot, we don't need to create the new key pair which we already created now, which is the Bastion host. Okay. Only thing is like network setting. Let's say this is the demo VPC which we have created, but here it takes automatically private subnet. Okay. So that is the reason. So now let's go ahead and just create within a private subnet. Sorry, public subnet one. Okay. Because as per the diagram, we required Bastion host on the public subnet, not the private one, because we are going to use that public subnet host, and from there we can connect to database server. So here just select the public subnet. Okay. And now again we don't need to create the separate security group which we already created now. Okay. So we can go with this demo say DB security group, and rest of the things are fine now. Just launch it. This type of minor mistakes or troubleshooting can come the real time, so we need to resolve that based on the error message. Some troubleshooting we will understand based on the experience, like how we will work and what kind of troubleshoot we will issues we will get. So accordingly we will get more mature there to resolve any particular issues.
Sir, I have a question. So in this case, we didn't created new security group, right?
Yeah, we already created with the certain rules, right? Like RDP protocol.
But
So we don't need to create new one.
the security group we created earlier, wasn't it was associated with that private subnet?
It will associate on the VPC level, so you can reuse that.
Okay.
So it's in running now. So we can, what we can do is we can copy now this public IP. Okay. And let's go to this Windows RDP and just paste here. So now when we need to go and just retrieve the password. Same process from the action security, get Windows password and upload this PEM file which we downloaded and click on decrypt password. Okay, so we will see this randomly generated password. Just copy it and try to connect. Okay, that Bastion server is in running state. (130.70) and it's in public subnet, which is fine. I'm checking the security group here now. Just select the RDP, okay, and 3389, and from here either you can go with this anywhere or my IP address. So it will get only access from the my IP address, not the everyone. So which is fine now. Okay, once connectivity is configured properly, so we can see this pop up, and here we can use administrator as a by default username for the Windows, and then we have already copied the password, so we can just use that. We can accept this certificate. Anyone any doubt for the Bastion server setup or the security group? Because when you are dealing with the real-time projects, so that networking concept should be clear. Which port we should open or from which network traffic like that. If any confusion or any doubts somewhere, so just let me know so I can quickly explain. Now what we can do is we can install the MySQL Workbench as a MySQL client here. I'm just opening this browser. This is the low level resources, so it might take some time. I just assigned the 1 GB memory, right? Just T2 micro. So it can run little bit slow. So here on the Bastion server, we don't require to install any Apache server, IIS or any something like that. Only which service you want to connect from this instance, only that supported tools you need to install, like MySQL, Postgres, or any other tools, services like that. Putty. Here you can just simply search. I think it's loading now. Okay. Download MySQL Workbench. And make sure you are downloading from the official website only, okay? Not from any third party or unknown source. That's a security compliance and recommended way, even in the industry as well. Because we don't know which third party tool might have so many malware function or something. Even you might read about the something like hacking, like any image background side. We front end we see image, but in the back end they might have any malfunction, something virus. So we can download this. Microsoft Windows operating system, which is fine, and download this installer. We don't need to log in and sign up. Just start my download. Okay. Installation is very simple, as you know, for the Windows. Okay, okay, it's pop up. Just click on next and just do installation. So meantime, what we can do is we can get the endpoint of the database. Okay. How we can get the endpoint, or from where we can get the endpoint? Go to the database service. Okay. You can see all the database are up and running now. Go to the writer one. Okay, writer instance. Click on that and you will see the endpoint here, endpoint port. Just click on that and open this workbench. And we can fetch the credentials from the secret manager. Just click on this plus icon here to set the connectivity. You can give the any name like demo db, and under the host name, instead of IP address, we can paste the host name here, endpoint, which we have copied. Okay. Our username is admin, which we have given during the database setup. Now password, where we have stored the password? In the secret manager. So go to the secret manager service from here by typing the secret. Okay, secret manager, it will come, and just click on that particular secret name and just scroll down. You will see the secret value here, retrieve secret value. Okay, so just remember, only the person who has proper privileges, he can only get this option, privilege retrieve credentials. Otherwise, he will get the error like permission denied or you are not authorized something. Okay, you can see the username and password here. Just copy that as simple and paste inside this stored in vault. Okay, and just paste it here. Click OK and test connection. If everything goes well, like your network setup and other things, that you will see the message like successfully connected. But if there is no connectivity between your Bastion server to your database server, which we have discussed in this image, as of now, we have set up this Bastion server, we have set up this database server within a public subnet, and this Bastion server is on public subnet. But now, what else major setting is pending? We need to open this MySQL port for this Bastion server IP address. Okay, that is the pending. So let's go to that. Definitely you will see the message here, failed to connect, because there is no connectivity between this Bastion server to your RDS server. So how we can open that? Just go to the EC2 instance, take the private IP address of this Bastion server. Okay, from where you can get that? Go to this Bastion server, select and go to the details. Scroll down a little bit, you will see here private IP address. Just copy it. And now next step, go to your this database security group here, open it in new tab. Which one we need to open? Inbound or outbound? Can anyone? Which rules we need to open now?
Inbound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go to the inbound rule and just click on edit one. Just simply click on this. And here, as this is the MySQL server, so we need to select this MySQL here. So sometimes what will happen? So AWS, what did is here? They have added the standard protocol here, like your RDS, SSH, SMTP, DNS, HTTP, POP, HTTPS. Okay, but sometimes there might be a situation like any custom port, custom protocol where let's say Java protocol, Tomcat 8080 or any Mongo database that's not available here. So in that case, you can just select this custom TCP and you can add those custom port like 8080 or 27017, whatever custom protocol is there. Okay, so you can find only standard protocol here, which is the regular use case like MySQL here. It will automatically come the port number here, and here you can just select the. Don't open this port MySQL port for any VPC level or any something or any public one here. Always go with this custom and paste the IP address of the Bastion server. Okay, you will see like this error message, so don't worry. You can give the /32 mask here for the single IP address. Okay, and that's it. You can give the name here, app, sorry, Bastion host. So at least you can understand like, yeah, this IP address is for the Bastion server, and just save that rules. Okay. So now come back to this session. Let's test the connection now. See, successfully made the connection because we have opened the traffic between your Bastion server to your database servers. And if you click on this OK now, so you will see the query prompt like this. So that means you are successfully connected to your database. If you click on this schema button here, you will see the demo database. If you remember, we have given the database name. If you run the query here, show databases, so you will see that here as well, demo database. So same thing, if you try to connect from your local machine, okay, so let's try from there, local. Let me open that workbench. Okay, it's loading now. So meantime, what I can do is instance. Okay, database instance. So same thing like for the writer instance, we need to copy this endpoint here, and it's not open it. Let me search more time. Workbench. Okay. So here, let me remove the existing one. Delete connection. Click on this plus icon and just give the name like demo db instead of host. Copy that endpoint. Username is admin and password. Let's copy password from the secret manager stored in vault. Save it and test connection. So this I am trying to connect from my local machine, not the Bastion server. So it will definitely give the error message like fail to connect or something. So that means whatever the we want to achieve like the secure database with the scalable manner and in the private subnets that's we have configured and no one can access from their local machine this database. Even if you make it security group anywhere, okay, if this database security group, if let's say by mistakenly if you configured as inbound rule anywhere, as of now that database is accessible only within a Bastion host. But let me if I add one more rule here, MySQL, and open it from anywhere, any network. And let me save this rule. Will this allow me to connect? It will not, right?
Yes.
Because it will not allow me to connect. From my local machine, it will not allow me to connect because even if you make this security group anywhere for the database, why he will not allow me to log in because that database created within a private subnet and that private subnet doesn't expose any traffic to the outer world. So that is the reason. So it's an additional layer of security you can say in the infrastructure for the database. Even you by mistakenly open that security group to anywhere, but still your database present in the private subnet. So still no one can access the outer world to this database because that's ultimately created in the private subnet. And if you provide the internet connectivity through to that uh, private subnets, then might be chances. But by default, this will not allow to access. As you can see, I have got the error message failure. And from this Bastion host, so definitely we can able to connect that as we have opened the traffic from the Bastion host. So within that same VPC you can access, but from the outer world you cannot access because that sits in the private subnet. So that is the security layer. Now coming to that database modification which I shown earlier. See, we have this certificate update. This is the current situation where almost everyone is getting this notification to update the certificate. Okay, because only the person who are using the database only. Okay, if you are not using this RDS cluster, so you should not worry about that. So where you get the notification from the AWS, either from that particular service console or you will see this here bell icon. This one. Okay, you will see, get here notification. You can see here the one schedule changes. If I click on that, you will see that health dashboard, and whatever the maintenance are there, you will see. Okay, there is I think Lambda function is life cycle ending. So you can see the affected resources here. This is the older Lambda function, which is okay. If you click on this event, you will see what is the changes they are going. If you open that, you will see in the details like what they are trying to do. Like Python 8.3.8, it's ending basically by October 14, 24. So this kind of alerts you will get here on the bell icon. So for now, we need to upgrade modify the database certificate. So let's go back to that database console here and click on certificate update. Click one by one and just click on apply now. And you can see the latest one by default. You can select this one. Even you will get this more expiry certificate like 2121, and it's that, but go with this default one and just confirm. It will take some time, and same thing for the second one. So you will get the new date for the expiry. So once that is modified, you will see the success message here. That is the as simple as process. But after modification complete, you can ask your either QA team or your application team, just check the database connectivity if there are any certificate related issues, okay, between the connectivity. So you can see this recommendation went out because we already applied that changes. So whatever the database related activities you are performing, after that, you can inform your QA team that verify once the database connectivity. So QA team will verify that normal function where database is involved in the front end application. Okay, so
सर
we
हम
almost
हेलो
yeah.
हाँ सर हमने अभी बैशन के लिए विंडोज यूज किया था तो फिर उसके जगह अपन लाइनेक्स में भी यूज कर सकते हैं उसमें सिर्फ
Hmm.
मेरे को कमांड लाइन थ्रू करना पड़ेगा
Yes. Linux भी use
ओके
कर सकते हो. In that Linux case, you can install that MySQL client command line, and you can use that command line. We have done that last time, right? If you remember, last Saturday or Sunday on the two-tier application, we have installed the MySQL
यस यस
CLI.
यस
Yeah, same way.
यस
Yes.
सर
So you can see now certificate has been successfully applied, and we have not seen any alert now. How we can verify? Just click on that certificate, sorry, instance, and just scroll down a little bit. You will see somewhere here certificate authority. It's the latest one, 2048. Okay, that's a new name, so which is fine. Anything else I need to show you? I think we covered almost all the action item which I mentioned here. If you guys any questions related to network settings or Bastion host or any setups, just let me know so I can show you that. Any confusion anywhere in this setup? It's clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Sir,
Namdev,
I have a request. Like last time when you were showing us those two projects and you were talking that we should know about the Linux commands. So can you suggest some uh, like good link where we can get, because those commands, and you were talking some other commands as well uh, in the Linux environment which one should be aware of. So
There you can
any,
find different blog or any YouTube channels, but you can use for simple, like if you don't know about Linux or something, definitely you can go and watch any YouTube videos, but this tutorial point also gives you a better idea, like some sort of this definition and some command there. And command, I will show you send you the documents on the group.
no commands you have sent, but I was just asking like if some like good website like you just tell about
Mhm.
this tutorial points. Okay, so I will check
Okay.
out that. Okay.
You can also check any medium.com blogs, so you can just search like that, so you will get more better tutorial as well. But yeah, this will give you a simple idea how Linux works and the shells prompting like that.
These I know, but
I have
like,
shared the link. I have shared the link for the YouTube videos for the
okay,
Linux
Okay.
beginners.
okay.
Okay,
Thank
Okay.
you
you,
just check
Ganesh.
that videos. Yes. Namdev,
Okay.
there's a one question with me asked. The thing is that how
Mhm.
we can do the practices for Terraform. Because thing is that if we are not able to do the practices, we can
Mhm.
forget all the things.
Yeah,
So
right.
request you to please suggest us how we can do the practice and other things for the Terraform.
For the Terraform, as I think I said last time, but you can try to create the resources first, like EC2, your IAM role or a
Okay. And how
user.
we can just like means how we can do the practicals and other things are there.
Okay. So that's I'm suggesting. First, I hope you install the Visual Studio, right?
Yes.
Okay, we install Visual Studio. So let me, instead of typing, let me explain. You can install this Visual Studio on your local machine,
Hmm.
and make sure you have a Git project or account,
Hmm.
GitHub account,
Okay.
and plan something like maybe they depend on your timing, how much time you can give on the daily basis. Okay, let's say 1 hour or 2 hours something, and try to first as an initial period, try to first set up the like EC2 instance, IAM service, your RDS, S3 bucket, okay, EKS cluster or any ECS, like these services, VPC, like these services in the single file like main.tf. Don't go with the module wise for now as initial phase. Okay, otherwise you will get more confusion. First, try to set up this basic services first by using only single file, that main.tf file. And then gradually you can increase your once you get the more confidence, like how the Terraform CD code works. Okay, then you can grow up more like module wise something. And after that, you can just try to set up that remote S3 bucket, remote backend, where we have seen last time,
Okay.
right?
Understand.
Yeah, that state file should stored on the secured manner, which is the real
Hmm.
time use cases.
Understand.
In between, if you are getting any issues, or you are not sure how to write the Terraform code or where I can get that, okay, the Terraform code. So definitely, so the way which I learned basically, where that ChatGPT. So we have this master guru now. Just you should enter the proper prompting there. So he will guide you proper way. So let me give one idea here. As we learn the manual way, right? So what things we required? Let's say you want to set up the EC2 instance. So what things we required as EC2 instance? We required a security group. We required a VPC. We required a public subnet. we require a key pair, we require the inbound rule, right? So those come things in the mind, and based on that you can ask the query in the ChatGPT, like you can say like being an Terraform expert, okay, write Terraform code for me with below requirement, for example, okay. And here in the hyphen you can give pass the requirement like create VPC with two public and two private subnet, right? Then create security group with inbound rule SSH to anywhere, okay. Then assign security group to this instance, then create key pair and attach to instance. What else required? If you want to install, let's say Apache or Nginx server, you can just mention that like that. Install a Nginx on this EC2 instance. What else pending? Security group, key pair, take default EBS volume storage, right? If you want to do more any changes like open HTTP port for security group. Like this, you can mention and just press enter. So based on your prompting, he will give you the proper code at least. So if you are getting somewhere issues, so that same error message you can post in this thread. So how ChatGPT works basically, he will remember your earlier prompting here, whatever you have passed the requirement. So based on that, you set he give the output here code, and if you again paste that error message, so he will judge your last response and your current error message. So based on that he will give you the more suggestions like, yeah, this is the mistake, you have used this kind of code or like that. So that will give you better idea to get more faster on this Terraform or any technologies. Like let's say you don't know Ansible, you don't know Linux, or you don't know about the Kubernetes, you will easily learn from here. Only here
Understand.
you can just change the whatever the things you want to modify. Like let's say you don't want to go with the T2 micro, you want to go with the C4 series or R series, something like that. Or there might be issues like instance this AMID might be different, right? So that you can replace those values. So that's minor things you need to change. That not possible that ChatGPT will suggest you. He will give the default values. So based on our requirements, we can modify that. But he will almost, I can say 70 to 80% he will help out you to learn in this track. Just try with this strategy and see how it works. And if you have any other strategy, that you can implement that as well based on your experience.
Thanks, Namdev.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? So next tomorrow, we will finish this S3 bucket wala stuff. Okay. So there might be some situation where we need to host website on the S3 bucket or either by using the CloudFront, because keeping S3 bucket publicly accessible, which is the security compliance, and no one suggests that as a recommended way. Okay. So for that we can use S3 bucket to store our website data, but with a secured manner. Like we can open only CloudFront, we can open or allow access to the S3 bucket, so CloudFront only. So as it, I will show you the tomorrow how it works basically. As a user, let's say I'm trying to hit my website, that request first go to the CloudFront, and CloudFront will check the backend resource where the configurations they are defined. Let's say S3 bucket, so he will check the permission and he will get the data, whatever the user is requesting. So we will see that. Static website hosting, I think almost everyone aware about this. If not, we can see quickly tomorrow. Okay. And we will see going forward. Just one thing quickly I want to show you, like database metrics we forget, right? Anyhow, we will see that in the monitoring project. But here, if you click on any particular database, in the monitoring section, you will see that all the metrics, sorry, dashboards here. So you will see the number up there, but you cannot go each and everything. Just search the main like CPU utilization or memory utilization like that, and you can just search here. Give the time period, like how much data you required, like 1 week, 5 days, 3 days, something like that. Okay, so we just created now, so definitely there will be no past data, but you can see now it will generate like this. And if you don't want to use this as a monitoring tool, if you want to use Grafana as a monitoring tool, so don't worry, we will see that as well. How we can export logs to the Grafana and your metrics to monitor in the separate. Okay, so as a real-time practice, you should not grant everyone to your AWS account access. Instead of that, you can just allow the Grafana that everyone can use Grafana as for the monitoring tool, and you can use that for the monitoring point of view. So we will see that in the later monitoring project. And logs you can see here under the logs. If you open any file, you will see like this. And once everything is finished, you can don't forget to remove. Okay, so just click on the particular resources, go to the action and delete it. You need to pass the confirmation like delete me, and that's it. And go to your second servers, delete it. And finally delete the group. He will ask the before deleting this cluster, do you want to keep any final backup or not? Okay, we don't require, so you can just acknowledge that and just give the confirmation like delete me and just delete that cluster. So this way you can delete. Also same thing, you can delete that VPC as well. Okay, so don't forget to delete that. So secret manager will automatically delete it, don't worry. Once the database get deleted, delete that Bastion server as well. Otherwise you will get unnecessary cost. And once that is finally done, then wait for a couple of minutes and then you can delete that VPC as well. Okay, you can simply go to that VPC section. Select that proper VPC demo 1 and delete it. Okay, it's still resource is there, so we need to wait a couple of minutes to successfully delete the database. Okay, it might take a couple of minutes, so we'll delete after that. Okay, but you also don't forget to delete all the resources which you have created for the practical. Okay, so any questions before wrap up?